And this is Dabu7, some underground world news. Live here with the crew. Got Mike Robertson with us, Erick M, Into the Stars, and B Rich here tonight. You never know who else is going to pop in. And we were just chatting a little bit about some recent events, and we'll continue carrying on to that into that conversation more here in a minute. But I want to welcome everybody to the show, everybody out there in chat. I want to thank everybody out there that shares this and everybody that tunes in, hangs out with us, and those that watch and share afterwards. What's up, Ryan, Dwayne, Nash, Changed My Mind, Ringo, Josie, Grace, Kamaka, Home. All you guys out there, much love. So we're going to talk about, I've got links as always in the description box. I'm going to talk about quite a few different things. What I'll do here first is just run through a couple of these headlines from the day. Of course, many of you have probably heard they stalled or shut down the whole repeal of Obamacare, or the whole vote. And the whole healthcare bill was set. It was all set to go down, it looked like. And then all of a sudden it just lost its steam. And they said Trump told Ryan, go ahead and pull it. And they did so, because I was wondering, like, why didn't you just put it up there and just go ahead and see what the vote's going to be on it? But they didn't want to give away their whole hand or something, it seems. And they're going to wait and try and push it in a different form at a different time. Now, when I look back at how they pushed Obamacare, for those that remember, they did it the complete opposite way. What they did here is they just came out and tried to run with this full steam right out the gate and say, take it or leave it. And many of the other people were not satisfied with the stuff inside of it. And what the Obama administration had done before Obamacare is they had coalition groups they put together. And they sent these people out well ahead before there was any mention of it. They sent these teams out. They built up support in communities, did all this other stuff, got people behind it. That way, when they started to bring it out to the national front, it had some support behind it somewhat. And then they just kind of pushed it on through, did their thing, and made it law. But they did it in a different style, so to speak. And I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens here with this healthcare thing, because it was one of the big things Trump was promising he was going to do, is replace Obamacare.
Since we're on the topic of Congress really quick, can I mention something which I'm actually working on an article on right now? Senate had a vote yesterday, and the vote was to allow internet service providers to track and sell all of your web browsing history.
That's actually one of my headlines. Yeah, talk about that.
It got passed 50 to 48, and it's not a good thing, people.
That's SJ Resolution 34.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not good, man. I mean, that's what they're doing is they're stripping the protections that stop them from being able to sell your information. So then, if they're stripping this away, then that means that they can do so.
Exactly. And with that, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And with that, it's one thing where if you're using Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and you've accepted their terms and conditions and they're selling your information like that, but it doesn't even have to be on any of those social media websites or anything. You can just type in wikipedia.org, and then out of nowhere, because you went on Wikipedia.
And I want to sit here. I want to let you folks know who did this too. You got the list of senators?
I do not have it right in front of me. I can look for it.
All right, hold on. See if this does have a list of some. I'm not sure. It's got the okay. Let me read this. It says that this SJ Resolution 34 will use the Congressional Review Act to strip away broadband privacy protections that kept internet service providers, ISPs, and telecoms from selling your internet history and app data usage to third parties. So it's more than just, it's always more. There's other little strings attached. So that's what it do.
And with that really quick, like you just even mentioned, it doesn't even just involve internet service providers. It involves telecoms as well.
Sure.
AT&T,
Yep.
T-Mobile,
Yep.
Sprint,
Mobile services
Verizon
too.
Wireless,
Absolutely. Yep.
all of them. Net 10, US Cellular, whoever you may have.
And this isn't just, and it's not just what's going through, let's call it your home services, like you said. It's also your mobile, but it's not just what's you're putting through your browser either. It's not just your browsing history. So like Dabu just said, the apps that are accessing the internet as well, which, by the way, is anything on your phone other than calling and texting.
And speaking on that too, I don't know if many people know, we have, since this whole 4G LTE, majority of phones now are using voice over internet. So if they're able to
protocol, yep.
if they're able to track everything you do with this now, well, if this becomes law, your phone calls could be easily monitored now because it's data going over the internet.
And don't think using your regular phone icon app that just connects you to the cellular tower means that either, because most of our services now, not through your service provider, but if you have an Apple phone, a lot of your calls and a lot of your texts are getting routed through iMessage versus going regular cellular tower connection. So there was a conversation we had a few months ago about security stuff, and I think maybe we'll talk about doing a video about how to try to secure yourself. But they're making it harder and harder.
They are, and even with that too, like, it's one thing if you connect to a cell tower, but now they're bringing out these micro. I'm not even speaking on the 5G yet. These micro towers inside the downtowns of cities and stuff like that. Yeah. All of that's still technically internet.
Yeah, 5G is a whole nother can of worms, because that'll mean that 100% of everything we do is getting routed through some sort of internet protocol. And mark me and Erick's words, man. We've been talking about it for several weeks now, and mark our words, and I'll put it on record right now, saying that that 5G, it's going to come back to haunt, and they're going to put it out there like it's the best thing that you've ever seen, and it's going to fly. But I'll tell you what, it's a backdoor route for every single piece of data, voice, sent, every single 99-cent purchase because you needed 50 more coins in Candy Crush. Whatever you do,
this is crazy, because the whole Vault 7 thing that was just dumped exposed how the CIA was basically hacking and implanting malware. There were several different programs that I named, and they were installing these on iPhones since 2008.
Yeah, and speaking of that too, one thing that really got me with that Vault 7 stuff was the fact of, with these MacBook Pros, if you have one of the minis, you get a Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapter, so you can hardwire your MacBook into the internet. Built into that adapter, everything that you transmit via that internet, that Ethernet, through that adapter, is all being skimmed in real time. Every single piece of information.
There's software inside of that adapter that's grabbing that information.
Algorithms crawl it,
telling it where to route it to through the internet cable that you have plugged into it.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't dance to Al Gore's rhythm.
No, and I see people in Canada saying something about what Trudeau did in Canada. Trudeau made it, or they passed it to where you can't criticize or say anything about the Islamic faith up there. What is it? Muslims? I'm not sure exactly what it is.
I forgot what they called it.
Word for word. I don't know how they.
Lee at? Come on, Lee.
But it got a lot of people upset because basically you can say they can sit there and criticize Christianity or Christians all day long. You didn't put no law in the place there, did you? Hell no, you didn't. Hell no, you didn't. Are you going to? Hell no, you won't. That's the game. And you guys have already witnessed what's happened in Europe. They've sent their Soros-backed goons invading, and they can't assimilate. They can't. It turns into madness in half these areas.
Because when you have a massive amount of people going to an area, they're going to want it to be the way on how they want it to be. For example, look at what happened in the 1700s or 1600s. I want to say really quick something with Paul in the chat. He said, "Stop freaking out, people. There are solutions for all of this." Yeah, the solution to fix all of it is for people to realize what the heck is going on and speak up about it.
Right. And
That's
Paul, we're not trying to freak people out, dude. We're letting you know what we're finding out that is 100% happening. Okay. None of this is myth. None of this is speculation. There's plenty of time for speculation, and trust me, we all enjoy it.
Somebody's already tripping the first 15 minutes in the show. We ain't even cracked into the goods yet, homie.
Yeah,
you better buckle up. It's gonna be a rough ride for you tonight.
Yeah, man. Listen, and so just to reiterate, this is the real, man. Seriously, you be here because you want to listen to what these people are saying, not because you want to criticize it. Okay.
I understand people got questions and everything else, but yeah, there's nothing to fear out there, man. There's a lot of crazier stuff going on in this, man.
If it scares you, then grab your sign and go out in the street and stand in front of your local government building and scream and shout it from the mountaintops. If it bothers you that bad.
Well, we're here telling you right now you don't need to do it because they can hear you right now.
There you go.
Spying on everything.
Send Paul a link. Let's let him.
They're tracking everything. They're tracking everything. We showed it with Facebook. They're tracking every location. They're checking.
And it's not like it used to be. It's not 5 guys in a van, in a dry cleaner van outside of your house anymore. It's Google Home listening and translating. It's Siri listening and translating and putting it all down and keywording stuff and calling you out and putting a red flag on you, regardless of what you said. I could sit here and say a whole bunch of different keywords, right? And tomorrow somebody's going to show up at the door.
Speaking on that really quick, Mike, I actually think after this stream, I might do a stream about the technology because a lot's come out this week. But speaking right there on the Google Home, for anyone that may be looking to buy the LG G6, they are going to be giving away free Google Homes. I'm not saying that in advertisement. I'm saying that as a warning. People will go out there to buy the G6 just because they're getting a free $300 Google Home. Yeah. That thing, even though it's free, they're going to be making way more money than what you would have spent on that from listening and recording all your information.
Yeah. And I got an update here as well to that, what we were talking about with the whole SJ Resolution 34 that sparked this whole conversation into motion. The senators, there's 23 of them. The list is at the link in the description box, and you can see all the ones that voted for this to allow them to sell your information. And there's names on there like Scott, Perdue, Cochran, Ernst, Langford, McCain, Grassley, Graham, Cruz, Portman, Rubio, just to name a few, some familiar names, Kennedy, and then two absent, one from Georgia, one from Kentucky. Looks like Rand Paul didn't vote on that. But yeah, that went through in the Senate, 50-48. When it'd go to the House now, and usually, we'll just have to we'll have to see what happens here. I've also got another link down there talking about Democrats on the Federal Election Commission are trying to regulate the internet. This goes hand in hand with this, and they're trying to regulate YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, the whole nine. And they go into depth in that article as well, talking about pretty much what we were talking about here with what this would do if they push that through the Senate and the House. What it'll also do, and I didn't say anything about this, it will make it to where the FCC will no longer be able to rule any of this stuff ever again. It'll switch hands to someone else. A new agency will take control.
It's such a scary thought, man. When we put it in these perspectives and ball everything up, dude, ham radios and freaking paper airplanes to transfer information someday, you just got to remain in the prepper mindset that any day we could be back in the 1800s, and it doesn't matter what it is, right? But imagine getting to the point where you get fed up with technology that you make the decision to put yourself back to the 1800s. Could you do that?
Right.
You have to ask yourself, can I do that? Would I do that if I felt like my privacy was being too violated?
Right.
I don't even know for myself, and I'm the one sitting here saying it. They've streamlined everything. Dude, you can't even go to KFC in some countries now without having to put your order in through a touch screen. Why? Why did they choose to do that, KFC? Because they tried to raise the minimum wage. So they said, well, we don't want
Not
to
even
pay.
just
Well, we'll
with
just buy
KFC,
some
though.
machines.
Not even just with KFC, Wendy's, McDonald's,
Dude,
all of those places.
it's all over. It's all over. And you know what?
All these
But
places
everybody's
that
got a
we
device.
all these places that we give billions and billions of dollars to every single day.
Think about everything you can do from your phones from the couch.
I seen a headline earlier about in 15 years there was going to be like so many millions of jobs lost and given over to robots.
And that's the next point. And that's the next big deal. Now look at what's happened to American jobs. Now look at how people looking even just to get a minimum wage job in the most urban of areas can't even do that. But it's okay because the technology's selling. Apple and I'd love to see where they rank on the top if they're in the top 5 biggest companies in the world.
They are in the top 5.
Well, there you go.
To my understanding.
And Elon Musk saying people must merge with AI. It's just ridiculous.
Somebody brought up the other day about looking at the past 10 years, right? Looking at the past 10 years, where we were 10 years ago and where we are now. 10 years ago, I think I had a slide phone or something. I don't know, maybe a Motorola StarTAC. Everything was still analog. You still had to.
I'll never
have to do anymore.
I'll never forget across this country when they went all digital. That was like a weird moment because you used to be able to use your rabbit ears on your TV and pick up your stations and everything else. And now the kids being born in this next generation won't know anything about that. They're going to be into this. I'll never forget that day when it all switched over. There was all kinds of glitches.
When that happened, that really threw me off because it's like, wow, we just switched to digital. Now, if there was an event that was to happen, like for example, like a wide-scale power outage, nobody could see anything.
Right.
Listen, it's still happening. Before that, before the digital to TV, there was a compact disc to MP3. Okay. And now we're talking about going from 4G LTE to 5G, which is a 100% analog to digital switch. We're partially digital now with our Wi-Fi, but our home phones, our cell towers, still run through wire.
We need to do. If we know that the analog was a reliable source and it's staring us in the face, and we need a communication plan if things go down, then why don't we take it? If they're just abandoning it and they're going all digital, then why don't we utilize those airwaves?
Because they stop giving them power.
Well, we have towers and everything. We'd have to do things, yeah. But what I'm saying is the airwave is there.
There's a reason that that we have some of the backup devices that we have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm looking at this article right here, which I guess I'll do an article on it later on. AT&T, just AT&T alone, is saying that they'll be able to cover 98% of the United States population with 5G spectrum. Now, to give you guys an idea, I talked about this months ago. You can go back in any of my videos, ToBeFree streams, anything, talking about the fact of that these people that created 5G were saying 5G will be so used and have so much data transferring through it. They have to have one transmitter for every 6 homes.
Right.
Now, if they're doing 98% of the population of the United States, think about how much stuff they're about to be putting out there in the next 10 years.
One particular carrier just went live in 12 out of 50 states. All right. They went live in 12 out of 50 states as a test run. This is their trial run. It's happening. Somebody that I know personally has a friend who just got a contract through one of the major carriers around here, not cellular, but home services out of Philadelphia. They are going 5G. They just got a contract with them to install these things on the tops of telephone poles in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, and 80 cities here in Ohio are suing the state.
78, right? 78, right?
It's Cleveland and 79 other cities, not including the towns and villages inside of Ohio.
They're suing them. Why?
They're suing the state because the state allows AT&T, specifically AT&T, that was put inside of that bill, to go out anywhere inside of public domain and install 5G transmitters anywhere they want to, on
anywhere, like at a park,
any light pole, any park.
You imagine
so 79.
Can you imagine
79 cities? Yeah, that's another thing. What's the frequency going to do? What kind of waves is 5G going to put out?
That's a lot. It means a lot because the changing the frequency of anything affects it big time.
And just to give you a visual perspective of what this will look like, imagine looking at the top of a telephone pole like a satellite shot on a map, okay? If you're looking straight down on the top of it. Now put a 100-foot wide circle around the top of one of the telephone poles. Now, before you get outside of that circle to the next telephone pole, 75 feet down, you put another one on, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing
all
that
the way around.
That way they've got it covered all the way. They got it webbed, right?
And then these things are going to be 6 homes apart, so they're going to be pretty close.
That's
and now,
especially in if you go to like downtown areas, like downtown where the houses are stacked up on top of each other tight. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness! I work inside of downtown Cleveland. There's just massive arrays on top of these apartment buildings down there.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yep. And you guys will see the cell towers are still going to be out there. They're not going to disappear, and I'll tell you why. Because things like small radio stations and stuff like that, they lease that space. So there's going to be radars up there. You might have a communications company in your town that leases a space on top of a tower. So the towers won't go anywhere. But understand how the 5G works. It comes in fiber optic down the telephone cables to these boxes, right? Now, everything in your house, you won't need cable boxes anymore because your smart TV is going to connect to the telephone pole Wi-Fi. Okay.
And directly to the telephone pole. You won't
directly to it.
The modem,
but not just that. Your cell phone. No more home phones. Everything's cell phone now. Okay. Or if you have a home phone, maybe they'll make them 5G connectable home phones where they look like a home phone, but it's connected Wi-Fi to the telephone pole. There are no more analog connections. Everything will be digital. 100%. Like that to me, I can't see what could be next after that.
Sounds like a bad sequel to ET Extraterrestrial.
It is a bad sequel to ET Extraterrestrial, and sadly, we're living in it.
Yeah, yeah, and now they're doing all this. We've got all these different things to pick apart about the technology that's going on right now, but we still go back to you can't even get a job in an urban area for minimum wage without the corporations looking at you and saying, "Fine, we're just going to install software because it's cheaper." To do that, we pay a one-time fee for the device. We keep it upkept. There's no constant reoccurring paychecks that have to go out. I mean, the only scenario here, other than a certain demographic, okay, the only scenario here is that eventually the majority of the population will not be able to get a job and still have to figure out a way to pay for their 5G because it's the only way they can do anything. Mm-hmm. Anything, ordering your groceries.
We've been a military industrial. We've been a military industrial complex.
And with that, yes, that if you look in history, that's how America kept their jobs in times of war.
Yep. We don't have it now. People won't even think about this. They won't set their phone down.
Casey just said it, military industrial complex. It's all we do. Look at Dick Cheney, all Iraq. All it was on contracts and war, money, money, money.
Exactly. And the times when we weren't in war are when depressions happened. And then everybody's jobless. But then when wars pick back up, everybody's got jobs. Look at World War I. Look at World War II. Look at the Korean War. Look at all of it. Look how when you look at it, look at the job ratings.
You know, the wars stop, the whole machine stops. How they've got it operating. They're robbing all the money off the back end. Of course, printing all the money too has no value these days. It used to be backed by gold, but that's where we sit. People don't even realize your money is literally worth nothing backing it. Bunch of IOUs.
That's it.
Yeah, I got a link in the description as well, talking about David Freeman. He was just confirmed by Senate to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel, and the reason I bring this up is because he's the son of an Orthodox Jew out of Israel. And people that just look at them like they're just all Jews or something, they have different views and beliefs. And if you look closely, like we have here recently, the Orthodox Jews in there are screaming bloody murder at Netanyahu and the Zionist regime that's in there and wanting them to step down and quit what they're doing. And they call them fakes. That's interesting. Because we've been trying to tell all of you this whole time as well. And they say it's right there. They don't worship anything that they do the right way, is how they explain it. And they don't hold the Sabbath. So to the true Orthodox Jews down here looking at them, it's just a control apparatus. And I find it interesting when I hear those individuals saying that from the streets, and it's been more than once. Well, that's the background of where this guy comes from. And he also has a belief in moving. What is this here? They're going to move. I want to get the name right. It's the embassy. It's the U.S. Embassy in Israel. They want to move this to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, which is a huge move. They want to take it to Jerusalem. And there's been a lot of uproar stopping it, but Trump supported that thought. This guy supporting that thought, and it's just pushing it in that direction that much more. Now that this man is sworn in as the ambassador, and that's an ambition that he has his eyes set on, just make note of it. Now, I got a couple quick updates here on California. I want to get out there. One, I just put out a video talking about how they said if there's a big quake down there in the San Andreas area, that they think that the ground's going to drop 3 feet. 3 feet in one time. And the reason they say this is because they drilled down, they looked at the faults, and they seen where these big quakes struck, and where each quake struck, it covered the ground with like 3 foot worth of sediment. So it dropped that much, and they said it's just going to continue to sink as big quakes hit in this region. And they continue to talk about this. Every time I turn around, there's more information coming up about this. We know Cali's swarming. We know they could get a big one at any time. But, man, I just don't think people realize the magnitude of if a big one, like a 7-pointer, if a 7.4 struck in this area and sunk this place 3 feet, dude, it would be.
I think didn't what you put out say anything over a 6.2? Isn't that what
we had a 6.4? We had a 6.2. I think it was a few years back, a decade or so ago, but it didn't cause any significant shift. Maybe just a couple inches. What they said is it would take a certain amount of power to thrust to make this happen, and they put the range at like 6.4 to like 7.4, something like that. So you ever see a 7-pointer pop off in that area, it's definitely going to make the ground shift. And my thing with Southern California, so tricky. It's got so many fault lines we've studied, and we've seen new ones being discovered. Some run into Nevada, some run down into Mexico, some just stop, break apart, and then pick back up, like down in the Salton Sea. We've seen swarms there. And then you have all the way up in the area of San Francisco, where we've had big quakes before too. I mean, California has a lot of ground to cover in terms of quake territory. I mean, pretty much top to bottom. Except for, I think, the only area I never see quakes is up near Shasta or north of Shasta. It's always near Eureka or something like that, or to the central part. Haven't seen any quakes around Oroville, and that's the next update. This is kind of important in terms of time, because what they're saying with this latest update in the Oroville Dam is that it is absolutely crucial that they fix this by November 1st of this year.
My birthday.
They said if they don't, it's going to be catastrophic. They don't go into details as to exactly what will happen, because they say this, but I think we all know. It will burst. It will go. And I come to find out more information. There's holes all along the top rim that were seeping water, and they never were talking about it. People had no clue, where the concrete was a foot thick. So what did they do? They patched it with clay. That's it. And that was their patch job. So this is the position they're in now. We fixed the whole thing the right way, or we just try to fix the spillway real quick. And they're like, all right, well, we got to do this by November 1st. Then they turn around and say, well, we're not going to award a contract till June. So that makes the window even smaller on how much time they're going to have to fix this thing and get an operational spillway before the next rain season comes through. If not, it's going to spill over the edge at some point again, like we saw in the past, and we're going to be in that same position. They can't use the spillway that they had at all now. It's gone completely. Massive hole in the middle. I mean, it's completely gone, cut in two. So the hourglass is flipped. You know, it's like they're working against time and Mother Nature here to get this done. And all I've seen is a bunch of damn pussyfooting around this thing.
And yeah, patch job.
Patch jobs with clay. I mean, give me a break. This is just ridiculous. But that's where it says. And if they're going to wait till June to award a contract, it's stupid. They should be doing it like by April, my opinion. But that's some of the latest information in regards to that dam. We'll watch it. Keep an eye on it. Then the next story here, I tweeted this out earlier. This is interesting because this story broke. It seems to have caught the attention of some individuals that on a normal day, I would say would never retweet something like this, or it just seems like some of these Hollywood profile individuals, music industry individuals with millions of followers, most of them we know are a cult, most of them we know are sold out to the game. None of them ever seem to be tweeting or talking about anything that we are, anything with substance, anything with truth, or anything that's important. So LL Cool J, actually, of all people, he really even saying that, but he was tweeting, and this is weird, because 14 girls went missing within 24 hours in DC. Within 24 hours, 14 girls. This should be like on the evening news everywhere. Like, that's a lot of people in one day. 14 girls. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And no one wants to talk about it. So, you know, when we talk about these things, they're like, oh, they're pizza gators and all this other crap. And want to shy away from the issue. Well, no, we're not talking about nothing like, we're talking about 14 girls that have gone missing. So LL Cool J targets Eminem. He's like, yo, Eminem, there's 14 girls missing in DC. Let's find them. Let's go. Let's get them. Trying to get them involved. I didn't see no replies back. Nothing said. And I'm like, he actually made a move. And it almost was like calling these cats out, like, do you care? In the open, in front of everybody. And no response tells me you don't. So, I don't know. It was interesting to see that he got a little involved in this and was spreading the word. And
yeah, I mean, if people haven't looked at this stuff. They need to look at what's going on right now in DC, because it's actually really freaking disturbing, and I'm really glad people are stepping up. There's supposed to be a huge rally tomorrow in DC over this.
And Virginia has the highest numbers. I've covered it in the past. When it comes to the whole country, the number skyrockets when it gets to Virginia. The missing
increase.
Yeah, like a 300% increase. It is something insane.
Northeastern Virginia too. It's the counties closest to DC.
Closest to DC, dude. This is real. This is real. This is really happening. Go look at the statistics. Go look at the numbers. We've covered it in another video if you've missed it, and put it out there. Go see it with your own eyes. See the numbers. And those are just the ones that are reported through that system, though. Imagine the other ones that didn't even get plugged in. They were talking about that too. It's a crazy amount of individuals. You have to ask, where are they going? Who's doing this? And how come the mainstream's turning a blind eye to it all the time? That almost makes me feel like they're a part of it. Like they should be held responsible for their lack of not talking about it. It's deception, plainly. What if this is one of your kids? Is that what it's going to take for somebody out there to give a damn? When it's your cousin, your nephew, the kid from your street? Or is it just all somebody else? It doesn't fucking matter.
A lot of these kids that you see missing, if you go to the website, are institutionalized. You see in the background the institutional colors, the same door. All the pictures are taken like in the same correctional facility or juvenile facility. And that's the troubling thing to me, is that a lot of these kids are in the system that are missing.
It is. And we also talked about the programs, man, out there that just prey on youth like this. Really wish we had to. Well, this is something we're going to continue to dig on.
It goes back pretty far. You know what I mean? Like, you guys remember Conspiracy of Silence? You remember that? You guys remember that documentary? So there's a banned documentary from 1994 called Conspiracy of Silence, and it's about child sex abuse. It was set to go on the Discovery Channel, but then it ended up getting pulled at the last minute. They were warned if they put it up there would be a big problem. I mean, it centers around Boys Town. You guys were talking about the different groups that places and locations that places like this stem from, and Boys Town is what this centers on.
I think I know what you're talking about now that you're bringing up details to it. I've seen bits and pieces on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a guy. I'm trying to find his name right now. I can't find it. I know it. I just can't think of it at the second. But he was a prominent banker in that town, African American gentleman. Well, I don't even want to call him a gentleman. Let me take that back. But he is African American. So he was a prominent bank member. Was helping fund Boys Town and do things like that. But he also had connections in Washington. So there were several connections and several kids that have come out from Boys Town saying that he was involved in them becoming victims of child sex trafficking. It's a disturbing. Nobody really wants to go down that rabbit hole, but you know what, people? I mean, at some point we've got to be faced with.
The mainstream media isn't doing it, and that's what journalists have to do. They have to be talking about what they don't want to talk about.
Right.
You got to keep going after the truth. And I see people asking about this. I tweeted out an image of the plane crash. That plane smacked into a house in Georgia. I haven't seen any other details. I've been scouring here trying to find a detail. Have you seen anything on that, Eric? Initial report is 1 dead right now.
That's all that's been said.
No one else. All right, no one else injured in the house. That's Cobb County. Apparently, a small airplane went down and crashed into a house and literally hit the house. So, also noticed they Kill the Bill was trending all morning, all before they even said they were pulling this or anything. So, they definitely had that hashtag and that whole operation in swing and in motion. I'm going to wind this down here. We'll switch gears here from the current headlines and get into the juicier stuff. This is kind of a current headline too, but this is going to tie into a lot of different stuff in terms of the Oregon standoff, Bundy Ranch. It's interesting because in court, well, no one really is paying attention, and this isn't put on the mainstream media in people's living rooms. If you're a local to one of these areas, I'd say you may catch an update to it on the local news, but besides that, you're not going to hear it across the country unless you're out there scouring. You come across the article that some of these individuals have put out from there. What they're saying is that the FBI posed as filmmakers. Can you imagine that? They posed as filmmakers to infiltrate.
NDAA.
Not only were they using their paid individuals, but we already know through the court testimony they were using Pete Santilli's. Full blown. Over 80% of the footage that was played in the prosecution that came from YouTube footage was being peeled from Pete Santilli's channel. And it's interesting because they didn't have – we were all over these events. And all over anyone covering it, we had a beat on them. We had a beat on something. So these guys just kind of slipped in. And I want to remind folks, if they were watching at the very end of the Oregon standoff, we're watching, and a dude walks in with a clipboard. Dude, this is the standoff. These dudes got feds on hilltops. They're surrounded, got drones flying. These are the last few dudes at the end of the standoff. And a dude just walks in with the clipboard like, hey, guys, can I get your signature here? I mean, hold up. Hold up. Who the is this dude with the clipboard that just walks in? He could tackle him. He could be a fed. Like, oh, no. he's cool. And this is when I was calling crap out, and the dude on the ground, David, was actually replying to me right there during the whole thing as it was going down at the end. And he's like, oh, no, they're just a film crew that came in. They've been filming. Now do you know who it was? I was screaming a bloody effing murder at the time that they were feds. People are like, oh, no, they're not. Well, yeah, they are. And here it just came out in court. All these phony filmmakers that were up there, and we were screaming bloody murder. Who was these people with the clipboards? People just...
Now everybody knows why we were telling people not to go up there.
Dude.
And now it's all came out in the wash.
These producers were there giving everybody their casting calls on what to do for the cameras.
It's
and I'm still under.
And that's not just the cameras; that's all the phone calls too, right? That's all that streaming phone
everywhere.
calls.
That McConnell that was driving the one vehicle had them in it right behind Lavoie. He's one of them. It's already came out in the wash, dude. As far as I'm concerned, dude, when I look at the whole Lavoie Finicum thing, I really feel like that dude was straight up. I feel like they were planning for blood that day, dude.
I feel like they already knew what was going to happen with the Dakota pipeline, and they did this event as a deterrent, so that they wouldn't, so that they'd have a what do you call it, like a pre-event basically. Dakota pipeline was real, and they're like, these Indians they're gonna organize and try to do like a standoff. So let's do our own standoff first and show them that they shouldn't do it, or else this is how they're going to end up.
It was definitely a honeypot. It was filled with just as many, if not more, agents than anything. And that's what I felt out the gate, man. That's what I felt, when I seen guys not calling people out on stolen valor, things they normally would, that's because I watched Pete go off on other people in the street over stuff like that on the slightest tip. And then when we're sitting here telling you that Blaine Cooper's not what he says he is, his name's not even Blaine Cooper. All this shit that they were lying about being military, they were lying about being vets, they were lying. And when we busted them and Pete didn't want to call him out, I think that was what did it for me. That's what did it for me. That's when I knew he was invested in this. There was something wrong. That's when I said, dude, here we go. You've got until 3 seconds to make this right, straight, and explain, or I'm doing what I got to do, because you won't do it. On the freaking front lines as a journalist, you won't do it. It's not like that. I swear to you, Dudley, please. I'm not trying to make fun of him. That's the kind of response I got back. Like, there was something there that could not be said. I already knew what it was. It's the same reason he got pulled over and got felony charges and they just disappeared. It's the same reason Ritzheimer was heading to a mosque in NYC, cocking up a gun, got picked up by the feds, disappeared. Where'd they both show up? Oregon standoff. Same with Blaine Cooper. Caught charges, everything else. Where'd he show up? Oregon standoff. And, man, you talk about a trap.
This just got deep.
That's a dangerous trap. Dangerous.
It could have been far worse.
Dude, yeah, it could have been. And I'm so glad that, we did what we did. We called it out. All the vets, all the people, all the different militias across the country that called out and said, dude, we've got you. We're not going. We see we feel you. We're with you. Like, you just keep on calling it how it is. And I don't just want to go out talking shit or calling people out for no reason. You don't do that. But I had a whole plate full of ammunition or unanswered questions that, man, it was rotten. I just don't want to see. We got to learn from those things. We can't allow that to come through again in a different shape, different style to suck people in. And like you were saying, Casey, with the Native Americans up there, it's they knew that they were gonna they in my opinion, right? They knew that was gonna come and it was gonna happen. And that's not over, neither. I don't think. I think you're gonna see
Trump this morning passed the other one. What is it?
Keystone.
Keystone, yeah,
Keystone.
right.
And you're seeing the pipelines getting sabotaged. I predicted that. I said
So
it
they,
would
so
happen.
they turned down the health plan. They turned down the health plan first thing in the morning. The next thing he does is signs this Keystone Access Pipeline into bill, and then all before lunch. Like, you see how easy it is? I
Money
mean,
investment. That's what it's about. Healthcare bill ain't gonna make them any money, and I'm speaking on the senators.
Yeah.
Because how much you want to bet all of them got some involvement with the oil industry, which is why they pushed it.
I know
so
nothing about
quickly.
what's been going on with the Keystone Pipeline, so I can't make an
OPEC,
intelligent,
has a permanent
assessment.
lobby inside of our country. They have control over many of the senators. They've lined the inside of their pockets, like Graham, McCain, many. They have full control. Their money. That's why they call them lobbyists. What do you think these SOBs are doing here? They're sitting here pitching around money to get their way. That's what it is. Lobbying. It's what they're doing.
Hey, you want to make
control.
$80,000? You just gotta vote yes for this.
You know, then they control the machine that's printing your money and everything else. So like, Casey, you've got an interesting bit here. You want to go into that here on the Book of Enoch real quick?
Yeah. And drop a little background. Do you guys see my screens here?
Yeah, I have to step away for just a second. I'll be right back. So pick a
All right,
couple.
this will only take about 5 minutes.
All right, I'll be right back.
Now, this is the element phosphorus, okay, also known as Lucifer, the light bearer. This is the name of the element phosphorus. Now, very close in the periodic table to phosphorus is sulfur. It's right next to it on the periodic table, as you can see here. Why am I talking about phosphorus and sulfur? Because phosphorus is the active element in the original TV and screen monitors for computers. When you add electricity to it, it's luminescent. In other words, it starts growing in this green color. This is why all these original monitors were green. Basically, our monitors and devices are modern day crystal balls, because when you add electricity to it, it glows. Okay, so switching gears, these are the original manuscripts of the Book of Enoch. And the reason why I'm going to show you a proof on this real quick is because we're going to read the Book of Enoch. And people need to know that in Cave 11, in the Qumran Caves, in 1947, there was a huge discovery. And they found copies, complete copies of the Hebrew Bible, alongside of ancient copies of these apocryphal texts that were not included in the Bible.
Are you talking in association with the Dead Sea Scrolls, or?
Exactly. The Dead Sea Scrolls, along with it, was found the Book of Enoch. As you can see here, there were at least 4 privately owned scrolls from K4 that have not yet been made available for scholars. Among them is a complete Aramaic manuscript of the Book of Enoch. This is an ancient copy from 500 BC. It's very old, and it has never been seen by public eyes because it is in the private ownership of these private owners, and it's not even made available to scholars.
That's ridiculous.
Yes. Now, this takes us to the Book of Enoch. So I had to prove the validity of the
Is
book.
that private owner the Vatican?
Right.
That was a good question.
Smithsonian. Yeah.
And now we're going to tie it all in together. Book of Enoch, phosphorus. This is unbelievable. They're describing here where the fallen angels are imprisoned and the unrighteous in the burning valley, which the grandfather of Enoch formerly shown to me in the west. In the west, we're considered the west, among the mountains of gold and silver and iron and soft metal and tin. This could be, we postulated, this could be Yellowstone, but it goes on here to describe basically these hot springs coming up out of the earth with sulfur inside of them, and that the sulfur basically was powered by the evil of these fallen angels. Said, and he saw in the valley there was a great convulsion and convulsion of waters. And when all this took place from the fiery molten metal and from the convulsion of that place, there was produced a smell of sulfur. And it connected with those waters, and that valley of the angels who led astray mankind burned beneath the land. Is where these fallen angels were.
They were burning
And through
beneath the land, is what it's saying. Underground.
Exactly. and their evil is what's powering the sulfur in these hot springs. It says, and through its valleys proceed streams of fire. This sounds like some kind of a volcanic landscape, where these angels are punished who have been led astray and who dwell upon the earth. But those waters shall in those days serve for the kings and the mighty and exalted, and those who dwell on the earth for the healing of the body. These are like the hot springs where these waters are, but for the punishment of the spirit. So their body gets healed, but their spirit gets punished. Now their spirit is full of lust. They may be punished in their body, for they have denied the Lord of spirits and see their punishment daily, and yet believe not in his name. Now, this is where it gets thick. In its proportion as the burning of their bodies becomes severe, a corresponding change shall take place in their spirit forever and ever. For before the Lord of spirits none shall utter an idle word, for the judgment shall come upon them, because they believe in the lust of the body and deny the spirit of the Lord. And those same waters will undergo a change in those days. For when those angels are punished in these water springs shall change their temperature. And when the angels ascend, this water of the spring shall change and become cold. So this is a prophecy, you guys.
It's talking about hot water is going cold, right?
Yeah. So this is something we need to look for. Like, what's up with this green phosphorus and it being called Lucifer the light bearer? And then now we're seeing this phosphorus and sulfur linked back into these hot springs that are going to go cold. So this is something we need to look out for when the headlines pop off. Be looking for any kind of time like some springs like geysers stop working and some of these sulfur springs go cold.
It's interesting that it relates to that and it ties into the inside of the earth. Once again, I can't tell you how many scripture, anything we've come across ties in to the inside of this planet. Almost all the roads fork back to here, inside, something going on. I said this about the Hopi. Hopi followed a massive light into a hole, went into the earth where they learn how to grow things. They learn new things. How are they growing things without sunlight and all this other stuff? This was a huge compound. Yeah, earlier, we were talking about the crystals in Mexico. It looks like something out of Superman, like living crystals that are down, that they've discovered, massive, bigger than school buses. We've kind of agreed that they cannot be the only place in the planet. And I, for one, almost think that there could be a whole layer. Why not? They discovered one patch. There's got to be more. There's got to be more elsewhere. And it shows that the earth isn't exactly what they say it's made of through these layers. When something like that pops up, they have a whole lot of explaining to do. And oftentimes they can't explain something like that. You say that it's rare or it's just, and I don't believe that. Look at all the stuff that's in Mexico anyway. There's still probably pyramids buried in jungles down there.
There's so much stuff they can't explain on this planet, like the perfectly circular stone spheres. Google search stone spheres of the planet, these giant, megalithic, perfectly round spheres all over the world. Some are up above Russia, some are in Costa Rica. They can't explain it.
Costa Rica has a ton, and that sits right on the line. That sits on the 188th, doesn't it?
Yeah. It is. I think it's pretty close, or it's down below, but it connects.
Well, if it's not on the 188th, it's on one of the lines. I did a video, and that was one of the spots that it passed right through. I'm gonna also be doing an updated video on Crimea coming up. Should be pretty interesting. I'm gonna piece together a bunch of stuff, and I'm gonna show Crimea. For those that don't know what it looks like, I've covered it before. I also come to find out a lot of people don't realize I've got two channels here. I've got this channel and Dabu777 for those that don't know, and I've got a lot of videos over on the other channel.
Yeah, D, a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of ancient stuff going on in Crimea.
Yeah, when you start to see the caves, when you start to see the plateau, when you start to see there is a 6,000-year-old temple that was just discovered. The figurines didn't look human, if you ask me. I covered it in another video. But these are videos that I've covered throughout the years, just over time. And I think together, They paint a picture of some crazy stuff. I was looking through my stuff because Shepard had tweeted out something on ancient Crimea, and I looked at it and I had my video on it. I was like, wow. I was sitting there watching. I was like, damn, this is Crimea is crazy. I forgot about this. And I was looking at all the images and then the whole story and then digging into the pyramids and then went even deeper. And then I pulled up my UFO battlefield clips, which were legitimate war footage on the battlefield, Ukraine, them fighting in UFO orbs, zipping around in broad daylight. Craziness that it's just crazy. There's no other way to explain it. Just quick orbs right there in the battlefield caught. And I'll never forget also the massive cigar-shaped UFO over Ukraine. And when I picked that story up, it was being ran on MSN. It was being pushed out there like one of the rare times they show something as being a legitimate UFO. And I covered it and put it out there, and they ended up catching some kind of strike on it. And I fought them. I was like, the hell with this. I'm fighting them. I fought it. And when I fought it, I don't think there was ever a response to it. And then they released it. And I kept it. And I had it. And I was like, all right, I fought it. And I won it. So I'm keeping it up. It's there. It was this massive cigar shape just by itself, off in the distance, up in the sky, broad daylight, over Ukraine. It's one of the many crazy things that's gone on there throughout the years that I've seen and I've covered. And to know that there's ancient pyramids there, that the one that I have titled Amazing, when you look through that, it doesn't just talk about the underground pyramid. I show you the pyramids. They are there. They are obvious that you could see them. Some of them are above ground in perfect pyramid shape structure. There's said to be some 37 of them spanned across the area. But I think what ultimately did the whole Crimea pyramid thing in was the fact that the guy that found them was instantly tying this into some deep stuff that they didn't want to talk about. Matter of fact, the university actually said that he's gone too far with his theories. We can't support this. And they wouldn't fund it. They wouldn't fund any other expeditions because he was saying that these pyramids, they were picking them up with they were looking for water underground. This is how they found them. And they were picking up crazy frequencies. And every time they got over this crazy frequency, they would look further and come to find out that they discovered they were right there near one of these pyramid things, small pyramid structures. So whatever they were doing, they were giving off a weird frequency. And he was believing, he was going into saying that, look, if you plate these things with limestone and everything else, they give off a resonance off the inertia of the earth. And he believed it was a global thing. He believed that all these pyramids were connected in the way they operated with energy. And even though he may have been onto something, they weren't going to have nothing to do with that. So they wouldn't fund him, all because of that. And other people came along and were like, look, dude, you should just keep your mouth shut and just went and dug and got the money for the pyramid. So he tried to raise money by himself. Didn't happen. And then it's just kind of just been sitting there in the air ever since. They're there. But it's a war-torn region where Russia's conducting drills right now. Good luck getting in there to find anything. And you wonder why Russia swooped up and snatched that little piece of land. It's ancient. Ancient.
Could be one of the reasons Russia's been fighting so hard to hang on to that piece of territory, just like they're fighting so hard to get up in as far north as they can.
They have a base in Sevastopol, and when they were still cool with
that's the home base of the Black Sea Fleet, right?
Yeah. When they were still cool with the elected government in Ukraine, before the West came in and ran an elected government out of town virtually overnight and took all the gold, Poroshenko and them had a deal with Russia, but he got, well, not Poroshenko, the old leader that they had in there. Russia caught Ukraine siphoning gas off their pipelines, basically stealing. Instead of punishing them big time, they cut them a break. They're like, we'll give you X, we'll just add interest to your monthly bill for the gas and everything. And they gave them an easy way out. And they did it again. And I don't know. It just seemed like they were in debt to Ukraine or they were in debt to Russia, and they were folding. And it was the premier time for someone to come in with mercenaries and take the place over. And they did. They timed it perfectly. They went in, they took it down. And Russia couldn't do anything but swoop in and grab Crimea. They fought in Luhansk. Everything else, there's still fighting going on. Russia right there on the border. But you got to look at what else they've done. They took the breadbasket of Europe, which was Ukraine, and they brought in Monsanto, a GMO, big time. And that's why Russia's burning it at the border. And, man, we've got troops lined up there now along the border. How long can this go on is what I ask myself. It's 2 years ago. I was reporting on troops and equipment being hauled into Poland, going on these huge military runs through multiple countries, huge trains full of equipment. Latvia, Lithuania, here it's been years. They're still sitting there building up. I mean, how long can this really
And
go
they're still
on?
sending them.
They're still sending them.
Yeah, they just sent a ton of helicopters
Hey,
and tanks.
let
over
me
to
interrupt
Eastern
real
Europe.
quick. Hold on real quick. Hey, D, I don't know if you know in your chat, you got a guy that I never seen before named SR Lone, modded with a wrench, timing people out. You know this guy?
Nope.
All right. Well, he's got a wrench and he's putting people out. So just letting you know.
Right on, babe.
Yep. I'm listening, though. All right. As you was.
Yeah, they've been steady dropping in Eastern Europe recently, and as far back as a handful of years ago. So
D, I really think you should look into this SR Loan guy. He does not seem,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
yeah, if anybody wrenched up, changed their name, they would let you know.
What?
Yeah, well, actually,
Whoa, he just banned Lee Stewie.
no, he didn't.
Yes, he
Deleted by
You're
Lisa.
you're reading it backwards.
No, I'm reading it forwards.
He banned
upside
him.
down. I'm reading it forward, upside down. Calm down.
It's all good.
Don't mind me. I haven't
Yeah,
slept
I
since
was actually,
Wednesday.
I thought the other day that I gave somebody a wrench and forget who it was, and I might have actually done that. So it happens. No big deal.
Hashtag no
You
sleep.
guys caught it.
You guys, I got a new show that I'm doing on Sundays. I was doing Deep Truth Live. I just want to make a quick announcement. The new show is going to be YouTube Trending Trash, and we're basically our first show that we did today. We decoded the song by Gorillaz called Saturn's Bars, and in that video they show the spiral ring of the outer spiral ring of Saturn. They actually show it in the video. You guys heard of Gorillaz before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we did a decode on that. So we're basically going to take the number one top 10 trending videos on YouTube, and we're going to do live decodes on them without me even looking at any of the videos. And we're just going to do it live. We're going to probably do that on Sunday. So people that aren't subbed to my channel, sub up. And we had a good time this morning. It did get banned worldwide, but then it got reversed.
What time?
Sunday morning is probably about 9 or 10 a.m. West Coast time.
West Coast. Okay.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah. You guys go, man. We've got Mike. You got your show popping off on Wednesdays.
Yeah, Wednesday 9:00. This past week was last minute change because we had a lot going on with the UK 2 days ago. So we just did we focused on that the whole time, but it was good, man. I'm Mike Robertson is my YouTube channel, my Twitter, and everything else. So if you haven't sub up, come check it out on Wednesday nights.
All right. Hell yeah. B, you got anything popping off tomorrow night?
Yeah, well, tomorrow all day I'll be down at that rally in DC, so you can
You'll
catch
be
live
live?
streams all day.
You'll be live.
Oh, yeah.
It's DC tomorrow, guys. So plenty of action there for whatever's popping off. We'll have eyes and ears in the ground. And yeah, that's it. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll give a shout out to everybody out there in the chat that's tuned in. Everybody that always tunes in here on Friday night. We appreciate that. Everybody shares the information. I can't stress it enough. we can reach so many people, but for that to get out further, to actually awaken another crowd, the next ring, so to speak, that's in y'all's hands. We give the torch to you guys, and I appreciate those of you that get the message out there further. It's truly appreciated to the fullest. But
Hell yeah.
thank you, Barbara, William, St. Patrick, Q City, Paul, Acute, William, Heidi, Billy, Epic, Grace, Fatal Gamer, or Fatal Gamer. Fatal. The first thing I see had a capital T. Loran, Daniel, Christopher, The Watchman, Josie, Texan Tom, Victoria, Gunther, So B, Weaponized, Candy, No Islamic Invasion, Paul Panda, Rutger, Fuzzy. Much love to all you guys out there. And did you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't think I am going to be going live later on today, because from the beginning of the stream, I got all riled up about the technology stuff. So,
I'm with you on that one, dude. Yeah, you want to do a tech talk after this, man?
All right, so you guys tune in to Erick's channel. He's going to try to fire one up over there. And
at Erick M2.
Erick M2. You got a link to drop in the chat real quick for that channel at least? I
can find one. I don't have them on standby.
Just comment and let them click on your name. Huh.
But does he have the channel? Because I had a problem last time going to his Twitter, couldn't find his YouTube channel. Wasn't up on the side.
Boy. It'll be there by the time they hear us talking about it, I hope.
All right. All right. So, yeah, once again, much love, everybody. Going to shut it down for the night. And guys want some more live action, hop over to Erick's channel, catch more talk there. So, see you guys on the flip side. Much love.